How you doing, folks? Well, for those of you who don't think that plug-in hybrids or electric cars or anything like that can be in any way sporty or fun to drive, allow me to introduce to you the Mercedes C350e plug-in hybrid. I think this may well change your mind a little bit. Let's have a look at it. This is essentially a C-Class Merc, and it is powered by a 2-litre turbocharged petrol engine coupled to a hybrid drivetrain. Now, those of you who may be in any way familiar with hybrid cars in general may be thinking, oh, is it one of those continuously variable transmissions, or is it anything like a Toyota to drive? Well, I have a Toyota hybrid, and I can assure you that this is nothing like it, to be honest with you. There is huge differences. This has a much sportier feel. It looks sportier as well too, for that matter. It feels like a much higher class of machine to drive, and it is a hell of a lot faster, putting out a quoted 293 brake horsepower from its drivetrain, including the electric motors, and getting to 60 miles an hour in a quoted 5.9 seconds. So this thing goes like the hammers of hell. It really is quick. So the other nice thing about it as well too is, rather than using a continuously variable transmission, it uses the older kind of more familiar feeling epicyclic gearbox, and I believe this actually has 7 speeds, but we'll have a look at that. There's no doubt that from the outside it's a very smart looking car. In actual fact, I think this grey really does look the part. It's got all the bells and whistles, keyless entry, so I literally just had to touch the door handle, full leather interior, electrically adjustable height adjustable seats with a memory function, which is really handy. So let's say, for example, the main driver was number 1. He just presses the number 1 button there, and the seat and steering wheel and everything get into the correct configuration for him. And then you can remember settings for 2 and 3 as well too. So let's sit into it and have a look. So at the moment it's adjusted for the owner, so I'm going to move the seat back. And now, why they put the controls on the door means you have to, there we go, move that back a little bit. Now, and foot on the brake and press the power button, and let's get everything lit up and get the air conditioning on, because it's pretty warm in here today. Now, vehicle is operational. Switch off the ignition before exiting. I know it's operational, I just turned it on. There we go, close the door. Now, this car is not in any way, shape or form short on bells and whistles or electronics or gadgetry. You've got everything from, you know, sat-nav, reversing cameras, heated seats, you've got the keyless entry and start, as I showed you, and you also have electrically adjustable air suspension, which is pretty cool. Now, here is one of my bugbears in this car. And this is one of the things I don't like about it, to be honest with you. And that is submenus. I hate submenus, okay? When you're driving, you don't want to be going faffing around with submenus. And to be honest with you, this car is one of those cars. The onboard computer layout is an absolute nightmare. To be honest with you, trying to figure out where things are. It's got all the bells and whistles you would ever want, but trying to find a bloody bell or whistle in the menus, you'll be doing well. Anyway, that's one of the big detractors of this car, to be honest with you, and it does take away from it a little bit. Like when you're trying to figure out, you know, I want to change from, say, you know, one particular driving mode to another, you have to read the manual. You have to know how to do it. I mean, in my Toyota, there is a mode selector button at the top of the gear shift, and you just select electric mode, power, or economy mode, or none of the above. And it's fine and it's simple, and to be honest with you, this car could learn a little bit from Toyota in that respect. But that being said, it's still a car which I think is a beautiful car to drive, and we're going to get out on a road test in it now in the next little while. That's your gear selector up there. You'll notice down in the centre console there is no handbrake, so you have an electric handbrake as well too, which is also a thing I'm not a huge fan on, to be honest with you, is electric handbrakes. I think it adds an unnecessary level of complexity. To be honest with you, there was nothing wrong with cables, they worked. But let's have a look at our this is our driving mode style, and that is our suspension selector. So we'll press the driving mode style first of all. So now we're in Eco, Comfort, Sport, Sport Plus, or Individual. Right, so that doesn't change the fact that that doesn't change your hybrid mode, okay? We're going to go to Comfort for the moment, okay? There is another button which is hidden down here, and I think that would be a perfectly placed button if this happened to be a left-hand drive car. It's not, it's a right-hand drive car, and that button is well hidden from my point of view. You have to go looking for that. Now, it was, you know, let's press that now. Watch what happens where it says hybrid. You have eSave, which is the, it's kind of like an economy battery mode. Bearing in mind this is a plug-in hybrid, so you can actually run an electric-only mode for a little bit more of a distance. And I'm about to start another rant. I feel it coming on. Yeah, sorry, rant's coming on. The electric mode quoted is absolute bullshit. Okay, the electric range in this car is, you're going to get about 10 miles out of it. To be honest with you, it's barely worth charging. Just drive it as a normal hybrid and benefit from the extra road tax. And if you happen to live over in London in the UK, you benefit from no congestion charge as well too. And if any other cities are bringing that in as well, you also have that benefit too. But for the moment, let's just pretend it's a hybrid car, okay? Because to be honest with you, the plug-in hybrid thing, it's a swizz, it's a gimmick, and you know, yeah. I don't honestly think, I've tried driving this car in electric only mode. I drove it through Dublin City, and Dublin City is not exactly an urban sprawl. I mean, it's big enough, but it's you know, you won't get too far on the electric mode in it. Kind of 8-10 miles, 12 miles maybe, which for some people maybe that's alright, you know. You just plug it in at night and you're only commuting down the road and that as well too. You'll barely have to use the electrics at all, or the petrol engine at all. If you want to accelerate hard, however, you're going to need that petrol engine, because the electric motor is 81 horsepower. So 81 horsepower in a car like this isn't a huge amount, whereas the petrol engine, the turbocharged 2-litre petrol engine, is where all the grunt comes from in this. So that being said, do I like this car? Yeah, I think it is pretty cool, to be honest with you. I do actually like it. Like every other car, show me the perfect car and I'll show you somebody who's deluded. The glass roof as well too is also a nice little touch. Now the roof itself doesn't actually open. Sorry, it does. I'm talking bullshit. Ha! I did not know that. Well, there you go. Okay, so we have a sunroof. That's nice. Okay, so let's have a talk about what it feels like to actually sit in the driver's seat here at the moment. It's very comfortable. The seats are very supportive. They're a little firm. I suppose that's to kind of play into the whole sort of sporty feel of this car, and it sort of does, you know. I mean, it is actually, the seats are very supportive, and I actually like them, to be honest with you. I now have the seat adjusted for me comfortably in the front, so I'm going to sit in the back now, and we're going to have a look and see how much legroom I get in the back when somebody who's 6'2" is sitting in the front. 1.90 m for you in metric mode. Okay, I'm sitting in the back here now, obviously, and I have to say I'm suitably impressed. You have to bear in mind, this is not the biggest car that Mercedes do, you know. I mean, there's the E-Class as well too, which is that much bigger. But just to be honest with you, it's comfortable enough. I mean, okay, the only thing it's lacking is a bit in the headroom, a bit of the headroom, you know. Now, to tell you the truth, my head is just about touching the headliner, and that might get a little bit annoying on a bit of a journey. But put your smaller passengers in the back. That's all I recommend. Yeah, to be honest with you, it'd be easy enough to live with. You have your rear air vents as well too, which is a nice little touch. Yeah, rear electric windows, of course. You'd expect that in a car like this. Door speakers, and you even have your glass roof in the back as well too. So yeah, I think it's comfortable enough. Now, to be honest with you as well too, if you were unfortunate enough to be a 6'2" person sitting behind a driver who's also 6'2", that's the only time you're going to be kind of you're going to have any sort of issue with the legroom. But unfortunately, that doesn't alter the situation with the headroom, and I do still have a little bit of, I can get my hand down there, you know. So yeah, let's have a look at the boot. You'll have to excuse the fact that the boot actually has a bit of stuff in it, but it's not big, to tell you the truth. Now, there's batteries under the floor, so that ridge there, it's not just a kind of a duvet. There is actually a that's the boot floor, and it only goes as far as where my fingers are there. So it's yeah, it's not a big boot, to be honest with you. Couple of suitcases and you're pretty much stuffed. You're not going to be bringing massive parcels with you or huge amounts of stuff. The boot is automatically closing, so give this a poke. In all my years of driving, I have never once felt that that was a necessary thing to have on a car. But they have it nonetheless, and it's there for you to enjoy. And yeah, you know, it's another in the long line of gizmos and gadgets and that as well too on this car. I think now, to be honest with you, the next thing to do is to get it out for a spin and see how it goes on the road. Okay, so we're set up here now to get out for a drive. So let's get going. Power everything up first of all. There's the engine running. So that's the first time you've heard that now. So what we can do now is we can press the mode button here. So I'm going to leave it in hybrid. You can actually put it in a charge mode, which basically means that the engine will just kind of stay charging the battery. And I'm going to put it into Sport Plus, just for the hell of it. Now, okay, right, so reverse is, we have a little thingy here on the right. That's your gear selector. Okay, so I'm in reverse, no handbrake. The mirrors are decent, and so is the reversing camera. I have to say the reversing camera is a lot better than it is on my Toyota. Mind you, that's not all that hard, to tell you the truth. As soon as the back of the Toyota gets dirty, you can't see a damn thing out of the reversing camera. So, now being used to kind of driving vans, I'm sort of well used to using my mirrors to do manoeuvres. Now, some nice opportunities to kind of take it for a little bit of a burn here now. Okay. Now, down for drive. Put the window up. We have the sunroof open anyway. One of the things I do have to say about this car as well too, just going back on the kind of the electronics and submenus, the amount of time it took me to tune in the radio on this car was criminal. You know, that's just not something that should take a long time in a car. You know, I'm not afraid of computers, in fairness. I'm well used to using computers and that as well too, but you know, it's unnecessary submenus. And lots of them in different places as well too, you know, trying to figure your way around. And the sat-nav, to be honest with you, I'd sooner just use Google Maps on my phone on the dashboard and be done with the sat-nav on this. It's too fiddly trying to enter the details in, and I imagine the cost of updating the maps is exorbitant at the very least. So I am going to go down here and I'm going to go right, because there is a nice stretch of dual carriageway where we can sort of open the taps on it a little bit. And we'll go down. There's no point in kind of taking you down country roads. This car, it does handle quite well, but you have to remember it's a heavy car as well too. Right, fast lane. Jesus Christ. Whoa! That's where this car comes into its own. Near on 300 horsepower. It's the fastest non-AMG Mercedes that they make. So, if you think you're getting a slow car by getting a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid, forget about it. 0 to 60 in 5.9 seconds is nothing to be sneezed at in anything. Least of all a car that you can get away, that you can pay very small road tax on every year in Ireland, or avoid the congestion charge if you're in the UK. I'm aware a lot of my viewers are over in the UK, so if you think I'm kind of going on about it, incidentally, this car is a UK import, so the speedometer is in miles per hour, and the top speed is 155 miles per hour. So she's quick, real autobahn cruiser. And that's one of the things that kind of lets the Toyota hybrids down. They're just not happy on motorways. Now I know this is at a different price point as well too. I mean, this is a much more expensive car than like the likes of your Toyota Auris or Corolla hybrid or whatever, you know. But I'm just trying to draw comparisons, you know, between the different types of hybrids that are on the market there. But you know, this is a long-legged cruiser. My Auris is not. It's more of a kind of a suburban car. But it's lovely and balanced to drive. I'm going to kick it into a roundabout up here now, and we'll, as they say, send her a little bit and see how we get on. I don't really have an opportunity to kind of do a 0 to 60 time here, but you know, 5.9 seconds kind of says all it needs to say. You have your stability control and all that as well too. I'm stuck behind a Peugeot 3008, so I'm not going to be kind of skating around the roundabout here at a great level. Some power in this thing, there really is. And yet it feels planted, you know. It's rear wheel drive. You're not going to get any torque steer out of this, obviously. You know, it feels like it's a car that's well set up to handle that close on 300 horsepower very well. And you know, if you were to bring it onto a track, I don't think it would find itself particularly out of its depth. Now we're in Sport Plus mode, so what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to change the mode. We're going to go down to Comfort, okay? And now the suspension softens up, because don't forget, there's different modes of suspension. Now all of a sudden, this same car that I was driving like a demon there, all of a sudden feels kind of floaty and glides over bumps, and you know, yeah, you know the power is still there now, but it's not as kind of it's not on a hair trigger anymore, whereas the Sport Plus throws it into that sort of situation. I'm in 5th gear now. As I said, it's an epicyclic automatic. For those who don't know what that means, it's a planetary gearbox, so it actually has proper gears as such, whereas the continuously variable transmission has no defined ratios, so you don't feel it changing gears, whereas this you do. Now I'm in 7th gear. It tells it on the dashboard there. There's the gear position. It doesn't have a. Oh, sorry, it does. It has flappy paddles as well too. So you have your flappy paddles if you want to do. You know you're going to be overtaking soon. You're trying to wait for your gap in the traffic. I find the flappy paddles are great for that kind of thing, where instead of using the kick down, you can already kind of have it in the right gear, so that when you do want to open the taps, you're good to go. So yeah, it's great that way, you know. And like the engine's doing 1,000 RPM there now, and we're doing 40 miles per hour. That's 60k. So unfortunately, traffic is a bit heavy today now. So, but there again, I suppose that's a good opportunity to see kind of what the whole hybrid thing is like. We'll go on a bit. I now know the engine is off because the rev counter's at 0, and we have there's a charge/e-drive indicator below the rev counter, which is not the clearest way of indicating the way how the drivetrain is behaving. Personally, I prefer the Toyota's way of doing things. Is a kind of a graphical interface and that as well too. Okay, I'm in a sweat in this car at the moment, okay, and I'm not, because I'm driving, I'm not inclined to go fiddling with the controls to lower the temperature or to put the air conditioning on and that as well too. You know, I mean, okay, hang on a second. Air conditioning, Jesus, it's roasting. Like, things don't fall to hand, you know. You have to start looking down and looking at the dashboard and that kind of thing, and that, to me, it doesn't add to the driving experience. To be honest, it takes away from it. I don't want to be fiddling with computers when I'm driving. When I'm driving, I want to be controlling the car. You know, to be honest with you, I on that respect, I think my '74 Beetle is better that way. You know, because there's nothing to take you away from actually driving the vehicle. You know, okay, you don't have the power, you don't have the performance, you don't have the economy or any of that type of thing. You know, but what you do have is you have a you know, you're in control of the machine. You don't feel like you're just kind of taking part in a whole computer program. Whereas in this car, you kind of do. Now I've just pulled in at the side of the road here, and I'm gonna put it in park. So that's the button at the side. Now there's no handbrake. Again, I would have liked to kind of pull the handbrake. Okay, so vehicle settings. So the way you control this now, again, it's not touchscreen. You have to go fiddling with this thing here. So you have to turn the knob to select vehicle settings, and then press it down to select, and then, you know, acoustic lock feedback, automatic mirror folding function, locator illuminator, locking feature, interior lights, and then you can, you know, go down here and press that button to go back in the menu, and you're back to, you know, dynamic select. Now this is you go in here, and this is where you can select your suspension. Now we have it in the comfort mode. You can set up your own user profile as well too. So there is various different things. So that's the engine performance, suspension, steering, eco assist, and climate control as well too. So the climate control is set up now to not use much battery power, or well, probably will use battery power actually if it's in comfort mode. It's intended to keep it comfortable. In eco mode it wouldn't. Okay, so we can go out of there, and energy flow. Now this is where we can actually see how the drivetrain is behaving and what our battery level is at. So our battery level's at 15%, so it's not fully charged. Even if it was fully charged, yeah, I probably could have gotten some of the driving done that I was doing for this video on battery only mode, and it was on battery only mode at times. But what was happening was like the owner of this car doesn't plug it in too often. Personally, I would probably use it as a hybrid myself a lot of the time, and only plug it in periodically. The battery range, if you were only kind of driving in and out of the city, and you can plug it in the city and get home, and you know, the city from here is about 12 miles away. You probably could do that, you know, been stuck in traffic and that as well too. But again, it depends on what way you're driving and the acceleration and that kind of thing as well too. So anyway, so that's a kind of an overview of the computer. You do have other modes in that as well too. Fuel consumption, there you go. It, you know, generally ranges kind of 50 miles to the gallon. To be honest with you, you would expect that from a car like this. Again, depends on how you're driving it. And the owner's manual is in here. What an absolute bloody nightmare that is to try and negotiate your way around, and I'm not even going to bother, to be honest with you. The radio, have a quick look at that. I have the volume turned down. There's your radio stations. You can cycle through them and that as well too. But I personally just prefer having buttons that you can press to select the different radio stations and tune in your frequency, and press and hold the button to save it. You know, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. This has DAB in that as well too, and it doesn't seem to easily differentiate between FM and DAB. And that's all right if that's what you want, but you know, that might not be what you want. So anyway, that's kind of an overview of the computer. So let's get back on the road anyway. We'll have another little drive and try and kind of through some of the twisty stuff I think I have, just a route we can take, and hopefully we won't get too stuck in traffic. Okay, right, now we're back on the driver's seat as such. So I'm in drive. Okay, again, no handbrake. It's in electric mode now, so really you just let off the brake and away you go. I'll try and swing a U-ey here. Yes, if we can, should be able to. Okay. Okay. Now, It's in comfort mode now again, so I didn't change it out of comfort mode. So there's nice even acceleration out of it, and you don't really hear the engine too much unless you're really giving it the welly. And right now I'm not. I'm kind of just cruising along. But it feels like a lovely balanced car to drive, you know. I mean, it does reassure you that if you throw it into the twisty stuff, it will behave itself. It does have a nice little balance between being a kind of a nice cruiser slash autobahn car and being a little bit sporty as well too. So you're kind of getting a lot from it in that respect, you know. It's a lot of things, this car. Would it be the first car I would pick if it was as a family car? No, it wouldn't be, to be honest with you. The boot's too small, and it wasn't designed as such, to be honest with you. It was designed more as a kind of a business executive's car who has a few quid to spend on a car that's actually really nice to drive. And to be honest with you, you would be spending your money wisely on getting something like this. Now, as I said, there's too much electronics, so I could see, you know, this car being a bit on the geeky side of things to certain people, you know, and you know, yeah, maybe if electronics and computers are your thing, then yeah, but there's reports of them being problematic. And now I'm not going to say that is or isn't the case, simply because of the fact that I haven't experienced that problem, and I'm talking from my own experiences. Yeah, there's people who sort of say, oh yeah, I've had such and such problems with the batteries not taking a full charge, or the suspension misbehaving. You can do a bit of Googling yourself and make up your own mind in that respect as well too. I'm not going to tell you that this is a problematic car, because I don't know if it is. As I said, this particular car that I'm driving at the moment has given no trouble, and long may that continue, because Mercedes price tags, when it comes to getting them repaired, are astro-bloody-nomical. So now, this being a 171, it'd be still under warranty, I suppose. I think it is anyway. I have to double check that. But anyway, yeah, like, you don't want a Merc to go wrong, because the cost of ownership suddenly starts to increase quite significantly. And especially if you're getting into the complex electronic systems to control the hybrid side of things and everything, throw it into. By the way, that wasn't my tyre screeching, that was somebody else. Just in case you were thinking I was hooning it, and I am not. I think this is just a lovely car to drive, I really do. I mean, they've nailed it as far as a good balance of what you're looking for is concerned. And if it was just, let's say for example, I didn't have a family, or this was the car I was going to use for when I wanted to go off somewhere on my own, or you know, I was kind of, my family were growing up and moved out, and I wanted to kind of get something a little bit more sporty for myself to drive, something comfortable and economical, sporty, and all of those type of things, then I would definitely consider this. And don't let the whole hybrid thing put you off modern cars, because to be honest with you, it's just another way of delivering power to the wheels. And yeah, there's a big bank of batteries, but like, batteries and electric motors, I mean, if you do away with them, then you're going to get, you know, you have to have them, you know. And what are you suggesting next? That we get rid of the starting motor and the 12 volt battery to start a normal car as well too, and then go back to cranking? You know, it's okay. Some people are saying it's progress in the wrong direction and all that as well too. Personally, I think it is actually. The technology is very appealing to me. Trains have been doing the whole hybrid thing for many years before cars have, and they do it in the form of the large diesel engine in a train runs a generator. The generator runs it supplies power to the electric motors, which therefore does away with the need for a complex transmission which has to handle the power from a diesel train engine, which has a very narrow power band. So engineers back then saw the advantages of the hybrid system. Now that's a different style of hybrid. They don't have the batteries that these have, but the end result is basically the same. And the benefits of electric motors is there's torque there all the time. You know, petrol engines, diesel engines have a very narrow power band. They have a very narrow range of when they deliver their power, and the kind of the electric motor there kind of, it alleviates a certain amount of that, and kind of supplements the power really. And in the same way as the Toyota, the hybrid system is kind of a capacitor, if you know what I mean, and it's there to store energy for when you need it and deliver it quickly. But anyway, the only thing I want to do when we get back is to have a look under the engine bay, and to be honest with you, you're not going to see a whole lot. It's all plastic cover, you know, as you can kind of expect in a car like this. It's an inline 4 turbocharged petrol engine, and we'll have a look at it, but don't be in for any surprises, and then we'll leave it at that. So yeah. Okay, so as promised, here is the engine, or at least the plastic cover that goes over the top of the engine. I can assure you it's in underneath there. You can't really see a whole lot now, mind. But yeah, it's in there all the same. And as I said, it is a 2-litre turbocharged petrol engine. I would imagine that is something along the lines of a charge cooler there for the turbo. But to tell you the truth, I really don't know a whole lot about it, rather than knowing what the power is, and what the size, the capacity is. So yeah, take a look around. I always like gas struts on the bonnet, to be honest with you. It's always a much nicer way of doing things than the rod. But anyway, look, thanks a lot for watching, folks, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more car reviews over the next while, and I will see you in a future video.